capital is actually a very fundamentally local business. And, I'm kind of having controversial thoughts about the whole notion of supranational ecosystems. First of all, because we have been discussing pretty much governments and institutions on the panel. In my view, ecosystems are very coordinated and complex. So in addition to the government and the government support, they need also infrastructure, they need risk capital, they need academic science, they need entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial communities. And it strikes me that many of these components are very local by nature. For example, we talk about infrastructure, and this is really crucial for innovation because there is a large volume of new knowledge created every year in the world. And not all of this knowledge becomes useful products. Not all of it gets commercialized. And innovation or commercialization really happens in a few technology centers across the globe. And it's important that those technology centers provide infrastructure and support for small companies that commercialize those products. And I also want to touch the government support in this context because government support is totally important for innovation. It could be direct, like here, for example, in Russia, the Russian government is building Skolkovo Innovation Center, or it could be indirect. For example, Silicon Valley, as we know it today, it has nothing to do with the government, but not many people know that the reason we have Silicon Valley is that there were all these government military contracts that were produced or generated in Silicon Valley after the Second World War. And all the academic research that was going on at Stanford, also defense related. So governments are very important, and the Secretary mentioned NIH, for example, granting. I don't know the most recent number, but a couple of years ago it was $28 billion a year going to biomedical research. Innovation in life sciences would not have been possible without it. So it's totally important, but actually the American government is very smart. It gives grants primarily to scientific institutions and to researchers. When the governments start giving money to businesses, is actually very dangerous because it demotivates entrepreneurs. It creates various sort of relationships that are not market driven, and a lot of it happens in Russia, for example. So to support innovative businesses, there are special market institutions that exist. For example, venture capital, which I represent. And venture capital has been proven for many years and decades to be the most effective mechanism of selection and supporting innovative companies. Academic science, universities, I totally agree with them that they play absolutely the central role in any innovation ecosystem. For example, in Silicon Valley, it's Stanford and Berkeley and UCSF. They produce not only intellectual property, but also people who join this innovation ecosystem. In Russia, the government started building Russian Silicon Valley, they first called it the Skolkovo Innovation Center, but very soon they realized that they need a university associated with Skolkovo, and now we have Skolkovo Tech for that purpose. So, but at the same time, universities are very global. I mean, the whole science is a very global activity because researchers who are sort of detached from the global scientific process, from international research centers, who cannot travel, who cannot talk to people like themselves, they very often, very quickly become outsiders, and they just cannot generate that new knowledge effectively, because this is how new knowledge is generated, through communication, through collective research, people from very different countries, from various universities. Well, and the last but not the least, the central point in any innovation ecosystem is taken by entrepreneurs. Small companies, first of all, they generate much more innovation than any large companies. It's a very, very well-known fact. And there is no innovation without entrepreneurs. And all these people, all these institutions, investors, infrastructure businesses, they all serve entrepreneurs so that we could create these new products. They are people who basically challenge the existing status quo and change economic